The podcast you're about to view is submitted as part of an assessment for a Sports Science and Outdoor Activities degree at Bangor University, Wales. This podcast was developed as a visual coaching aid for instructors introducing individuals to a Grade 2-3 whitewater environment. The key aspects covered are swimming in a whitewater environment, the throwline rescue. The viewer should be familiar with the basic rescue equipment and have a basic understanding of river features for this podcast to be of any use. Self-rescue is the most reliable form of rescue. In the event of a swim, it is important that a positive mental attitude is maintained throughout. Once you have resurfaced, you will need to think about: where is the nearest point of safety? How do I get to it? Is there anyone in position to perform a rescue? If so, how can I best position myself? Am I holding on to any equipment? If so, is it limiting my ability to swim effectively? In this position, you are less susceptible to entrapment as your hands and feet are kept on the surface. You are able to fend off boulders with your feet, look where you are going, and your head is protected from impacts. If contact is made with obstacles underwater, the knocks are absorbed by the back of your buoyancy aid and buttocks, causing bruising rather than fractures. Swimming in a whitewater environment is exhausting, therefore it is important that you use your available energy and resources effectively. Passive swimming involves adopting the defensive swimming position outlined earlier, and using the natural flow of the water to take you downstream. You can use a gentle backwards butterfly at about a 45-degree angle to manoeuvre across the river. You generally use this position when the nearest point of safety or a rescuer is more than a few meters away. Aggressive swimming involves the swimmer positioning themselves upstream of an eddy, then turning onto their front and aggressively swimming across the eddy line using a front crawl motion. It is important that you plant your strokes deep into the eddy. You generally use this position when avoiding a hazard in deep water or when within a few meters of an eddy or rescuer. If you find it difficult to get yourself across the eddy line using the previous technique, or when swimming in fast currents, it may be more beneficial to use a barrel roll technique. You approach the eddy as before, but instead roll over and over until you're safely in the eddy. You may find it useful to kick your legs as you roll. It is important that you keep your hands and feet off the riverbed until it is too shallow to swim any further. When swimming through waves, it is a good idea to breathe out as you're going through the peak of the wave and in through the troughs. This will ensure you get your lungs full of fresh air. If you can see a strainer ahead and it is avoidable, make every effort to avoid it. If, however, it is too close to avoid or is river wide, roll onto your front facing downstream and swim over the obstacle head first. If your legs get swept under the water, the situation turns from a self-rescue to an aided rescue. When a swimmer is unable to self-rescue, they will require some form of assisted rescue. The acronym TRTRG, meaning talk, reach, throw, row, go, can be used when deciding which strategy to use. It is best as a rescuer to go for the lowest risk option first. However, the most appropriate technique depends on the situation at hand. We are going to focus on the throw rescue through the use of a throw line. This is a commonly used bank-based rescue and it takes practice to get right. Make sure you select an appropriate place to stand, usually with good footing and where you are unlikely to slip and end up in the water with the swimmer. Look downstream and make sure that you are able to swing the swimmer into a safe place. An eddy is ideal. It is important that you get the swimmer's attention so that they can be ready to receive the line. Shout, "Line, line," to the swimmer, and if you know their name, then shout, "Name, line." Gain eye contact with the swimmer before throwing the line. There are 3 techniques to throwing a line: overarm, underarm, and sidearm. When throwing a line, it is important that you put your opposite foot to throwing arm forward. You keep your eye on the target the whole time and you follow through so that you are pointing at the target. Before throwing, double check that you are holding onto the rope in your opposite hand. You want to maintain a clean rope, therefore it is important that you do not wrap it around your hand. You are aiming to land the rope directly on the swimmer with the bag landing the other side of them. Try to aim low, as this reduces the risk of the line getting caught in low-lying branches or slalom gates. It is a good idea to be familiar with all three techniques, as different circumstances require different techniques. There are two methods that you can use for a second throw: the static second throw and the called throw. Place your foot on the end of the line to free your hands. Pull the rope in with both hands, making a pile at your feet. Once you have reached the bag, scoop water into it and re-throw. Rest your arm on your knee with your palm facing outwards. Coil the rope into your hand, creating bunny ears with the rope. Hold onto the end of the line and re-throw the line, leading with the bag. To hold the line once you have thrown it, it is a good idea to use a Z-line technique, as this locks the line, making it easier to hold when weighted, and the rope is less likely to slip out of your hands due to the friction created. Hold the line with both hands so your thumbs are pointing towards you, then twist both hands so your thumbs are pointing upwards. There are several techniques to holding a line once a swimmer is in contact with the line. This podcast is going to cover standing brace, sitting brace, waist belay and dynamic. In slower moving currents, it is possible for the rescuer to hold the line by adopting a standing brace or sitting brace. Turn side on to the direction of pull, stand with your feet apart, bend your knees and elbows to absorb energy and lower your centre of gravity. Face the direction of pull. Sit down as soon as the swimmer grabs the line and while the line is still slack. Place your feet apart and brace them against a rock. Sit with your knees and elbows bent to absorb energy. In faster moving currents, where there is restricted bank space available, a waist belay may be necessary. The friction created will make it easier to hold the line. Take a few metres of line out of the bag. Wrap the line around your back at roughly waist height, so that the line is resting on your buoyancy aid. Hold the line so your thumbs are pointing towards each end of the line. To create more friction, you can wrap the arm with the clean end of the line across your chest. In faster moving currents, where there is plenty of bank space available, a dynamic stance may be used. This position eases the load on the rescuer. Adopt the standing brace outlined earlier. Once the line is under load, move with the swimmer, ensuring you keep your knees and elbows bent to absorb energy and lower your centre of gravity. When swimming in white water, remember to adopt the defensive swimming position and use the passive and aggressive swimming techniques appropriately so that you can conserve your energy. Think of the acronym TRTRG when approaching a rescue situation and go for the lowest risk option first if it's appropriate. When using the throwline rescue, think about your positioning on the riverbank, how clear you are when you are gaining the swimmer's attention, which throwing technique is appropriate for the situation, how to re-throw the line if you missed the initial throw, which technique for holding the line is appropriate for the situation.